Well, this just in on the next installment of the virtue signaling Olympics that's been going on. And this is a new event. This is the mixed race roles and cartoon roles. And so the secondary title of this is if you want any more proof that we're living in a cartoon world that I all created myself, then here's your proof. Kirsten Bell and Jenny Slade, who played mixed race animated characters in Central Park and Big Mouth, which are apparently on one of the side channel things that's going on. Anyhow, they they're stepping down from their roles. You see, they preemptively, to anybody bitching about it, by the way, they just want to virtue signal out there as they lose their job. The shows say they will recast the roles with a mixed race or black voice actors. And of course, the first comment on this was, well, a black, if it's supposed to be mixed, then what would make that a black race? What would be different than a white person playing a mix than a black person playing a mix? And I guess that they're saying that they would really want them to, be more ethnic, because quite often a mulatto gets very confused and tries to go with his black side of his ethnic mix. But there's a group of them that have done this now, and some guy put a video out, so I thought I'd look up one of the articles, and the first one that comes is, of course, CNN. It's all over everything. And so we look into this a little deeper here, and they've got other, and so if you want a virtue signal and look at this, and you want to see the directive of supposed news, what you see below here is they talk about white voice actors stepping down from mixed race roles, right? And Aunt Jemima Brand retired over racist origins. Not that black women used to look like this and they used to cook pancakes real damn good, but no. And of course, they updated the picture themselves. They updated the art on the thing themselves on their own accord long ago, and the bottles and things like that. For it used to have it with a do-rag wrapped around, but to this day people wear hair nets and things when they cook food so you don't get hair in their foods and things like that. But we can't look at things that are common sense in any of this. This is cartoon world, right? So you have Aunt Jemima. Now, of course, it said buckwheat, that it's made from buckwheat on the thing, and of course there's the buckwheat from the Alfalfa and the Rascals gang, so they've taken that off the box a long time ago because he portrays a wrong portrayal of the current way that we would like to portray black people even back then. I don't know if you can even see the Little Rascals anymore, or even something like Fat Albert, where it showed the guy where he also had a speech impediment and talked funny, you know. But neither here nor there. This marketing guru wants to let you know that companies right now have a chance to stand out if they'll only virtue signal. And so what you need to do is virtue signal. Of course, with the bandwagon going on, it's nothing new, but he wants to stand out. There's another video where a guy's taking and interviewing somebody, and what they're basically doing is going around and trying to get everybody to say that Black Lives Matter, and taking it as a soundbite and or a little clip of a video, and trying to get anybody to do it. In fact, they tried to get Pence to do it somehow during some thing, and he wouldn't say it. He said we're all believe that all lives matter, and then they came out with something like they're going to try to crucify him because he said all lives matter, and it's just incredibly terrible. And they're going after Pence too. You got to go after Trump and all those things. So aghast as Trump's polls sink amidst divisive racial rhetoric. Well, who's pushing this? Well, it's the Dems, and they aren't trying to fix it. They'll drop all of this right after November happens, and y'all know that that's happening, but you can't help but have it shoved in your face. Meanwhile, they want to show you that cop that shot Rayshard Brooks, that he has a shooting that is still active, that they were investigating from 2015. So I don't know if you know what year it is, but they have things that just go in lieu for that long. No, no, that's a false directive thing too. But um, they want to act like that there's nothing wrong with being roaring drunk driving and passing out in a drive-through. Everybody gets past that idea that that was the reason the cops were called, and the other one was trying to counterfeit, and he was on meth and stuff. But they don't want to. They don't want to talk about that anymore, or why anybody would get called. That had no, no, no. And we have to talk about it. So you can see all their newses are about that. And then here's the guy with the neck knee situation, and they say that they were banned from his Chauvin's floor because they said it was rampant with COVID. So they're trying to give him COVID. And people say Bill Gates should have uh, done more and everything. Well, if you'll look, there's a TED talk where he came out and he said a virus is going to come out and screw everybody over. And somebody took that as a playbook, and we've been currently doing that. Should Confederate battlefield monuments be taken down and all this? There's a question on that. Well, do you want to remember it of having happened or not? There's a George Orwell thing that said you shouldn't try to do something like what they're trying to do right now. In fact, it's a playbook to a T. His exact quote about trying to rewrite history and mull it over and do things like that so people forget, because that's the 1984 playbook. Yeah, I went through that time and we had to read it in school, and it's amazing that took another generation, but some people are like, and now I walk into the flames, and it's like, please stop. Uh, Her terrific job offer in San Francisco got snatched away by a virtuous singling for a black person, probably, I'm guessing. And then they want to know, one of their other ideas they've got going on is that where does Dixie come from, and in the Mason-Dixie line. And then people got to thinking, oh my God, Dixie cups. And now just the little, not Pixie, but Dixie, and it's the smaller cups that, oh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh, oh my gosh. And then, here's Pence, and pandemic situation worsens, and they're going to go off on Trump or him on anything that they say about it, and try to find anybody that says something different, and then go, see, stupid, and he caused it all. And you shouldn't have him as a leader because it's not doctors that are controlling this going on and millions of people. It's this man. Yeah, they try to get you to believe things like that. Trump event speaker criticized for calling Aunt Jemima oh, they want to leave it right there, but I think she said she was an icon of blah blah blah, and now they're saying, oh yeah, it's like, well, there was reality. There was reality. They don't want to talk about how these people were just recent primitives and stuff and came over to the whole thing that went on. No, no, that, hold on, no, 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 we gotta, oh, no, no, swear, no, no, no. Michael Jordan's daughter looks exactly like her mom. Well, no, she doesn't look like Michael Jordan. Donald Trump is facing prospect of a landslide loss. Yeah, y'all were saying that 4 years ago too. Listen, maybe the news needs to, now that they've outed themselves totally and they show you that they're not biased in any way, shape, or form, and people know it, now we need to get ones that are exactly on one side and another, and then you won't watch the other people's news and have them twist you. Don't you think that's common sense? Look, here's these surfers waiting to catch the wave, and right here there's a great white shark that's bigger than their surfboards. Must be 12 to 15 foot right below them guys, and they say they don't know it's there, but somebody took the drone and went out over the surfers, and they're like, a shark? Archbishop of Canterbury says portrayal of Jesus, how he probably tries to say that it's not a Caucasian somehow. But yeah, it's the Caucasian religion, and it doesn't involve black people or people from India or Eskimos or Amerindians or anything. Sure, in the modern day we try to go, oh, everybody, and Jesus loved all the children of the world and all the different colors, but he doesn't mention it in any way, shape, or form. In fact, he says he just came back for the lost sheep of Israel. And those are all Caucasian people, but and it's their religion and everything they went through, and it's not something that blacks are recreating somehow, like they tried to get to believe that 1619 and 2019 and whatever either. FedEx, by the way, removed its branding from NASCAR after the crap just went on the other day. And I wonder if people will find that interesting and start going the other way with it too, because FedEx was one of the biggest sponsors for a good period of time. Somebody years ago was talking about they were trying to name part of the thing. It was the FedEx Cup. Tom Selleck and his partner are still together, and he's at age 75. That's nice. Oh, it's just devastating for women to find out some of these guys are actually gay. But whatever. Bill Gates says the COVID-19 picture is more bleak than expected. And yet, whenever he came out with his original thing, he was like, make it get just like this. Look at that smirk. He always has this smirk whenever he seems to be talking about it, like, I told you so, or something. It's odd. India opens one of the world's largest hospitals to fight corona. Well, what opens? You haven't had this hospital. What do you? There was a shooting in Zimbabwe workers by Chinese mine owners. Oh, what? Well, China owns a few countries in Africa now. They've pretty much cuckolded under. They don't like white people no more and everything, even though we still send them billions, even though China kind of owns them now. Yeah, they got into a trade deal pretty much to where they're now in debt to the point they can't get out of it. And the way they wrote it out is like, well, now you own us, and now you're just going to really raw profit off of it. Hey, here's an interesting one about Bubba Wallace response to FBI's finding whether tied in 2019 or whatever, it was a noose. And what's strange about that is that, so everybody made a big hoopla if you haven't seen it, and the NASCAR thing came out, and they pushed his car around there and made some big thing about it, and the NASCAR guy supposedly cried that controls the whole thing, and Richard Petty came out and all this stuff, and oh, it's just a virtue signaling freak out at NASCAR, which is supposed to have been, it's the whitey racist places in the world, and you can see, look what instantly happened. So, really? So who's the real racist? But anyhow, supposedly there was a noose in his thing, and he goes back, and what's funny is in one of his interviews he says, oh yeah, I've heard. So he's been watching the video, and somebody's been prompting him with these things too, you can tell. Yeah, it's sick. And he says, yeah, they say there's nooses around that are in all the other things, but I walked through them all and I didn't see none, and da-da-da and everything else. And they go, here's a picture of the day, and here it all is. Notice how his rope is higher than all the rest of them. They've all got nooses on them. Here's another one from here. Here's one from this guy's car bay. Here's one from here. Yeah, and so here's the picture of the thing. Yeah, here it is. And is it a noose? Well, your hand can fit through it, so you can pull a garage door down, but it's not a noose. I mean, if you want to say it was a toy little noose, like if somebody was to take a little voodoo doll or something of him and put a pin in it and put it in there, or something like that, and they've turned it into this virtue signaling freak out thing. See how fragile some people are, and all the bullshit that goes on because of it. Oh, it's news. It's news. It's racism. Racism. What's the racism going on? Yeah, I always think he looks like one of the Jonas Brothers with a spray tan and a little downsy. What do you think? They want to tell you that CNN wants to tell you that Donald Trump has a strange way of thinking. Whenever he says things like fake news, look at these stories here. Little Brian Stelter. These are the cost of lies. And yet he doesn't want to talk about himself. Yeah, just like black people don't want to talk about themselves and the cause of a lot of the problems that go on in their own. 16-year-old boy goes into cardiac arrest and dies after stat at residential facility were white. It's got to be. I don't know what's next, but it's got to be with CNN doing it. And Pandemic could lead to longer power outages following a hurricane, industry leaders say, because those white people that made electricity just aren't on the ball enough because of the pandemic. And I bet if you read it, it says something about Trump. Somehow they put it in there. So all these stories. Oh, here's the 3 women that should be at the top of Biden's VP list. They're all ethnic women. Yeah, I think he copped out and said he was going to have a woman, or was it a black woman as a sidekick or something? I don't know. So if he said black woman, that kicks out Hillary, though, and the idea of the big shocker that's supposed to come out. So we saw Tom Selleck just a minute ago, and then all of a sudden you see him here, and it makes you wonder, is that fake graying? Is the other one color? What goes on here? But they canceled his show. Doesn't look near as happy there. No, he doesn't. Yeah. So here they have the stories coming back at you again as we go down through it. Oh, they're all aghast at it. So just repeats and repeats. Hey, I saw a video the other day. It was pretty interesting. It showed how all the major news, except for a couple, play the exact same thing in the exact same stories and say it almost word for word. Not like a playbook or anything, but the original concept is word for word, and then what they say during the thing is actually word for word. And that's strange. And you'd think if somebody was writing for them that they would have come up and used those same adjectives and those same thing would be weird, but then to do it over and over and over, and then after he shows it to you about 6 times, he takes and puts a collage on, and he's timed them together, and everybody says it together, and it's real freaky. Real freaky when you see that. Anyhow, so a new event in the virtue signaling Olympics is pre-opting yourself out of things like this, but then people started attacking people that don't want to virtue signal out of it or anything, like Hank Azaria. He does like 7 or 8, actually I think it's over 20 voices he's done there, because he does a bunch of bit parts whenever they make a guy that just rarely shows up or whatever. He does a lot of those. There's 3 or 4 guys that do, but he does the guy that's the India people, and there's this guy that comes out that actually it's funny because he wants to be the person that does the India voice and mocks Indian people. Yeah, and it's not that there aren't any India people that own franchise little side deals like this or anything, and oh well, that's stereotyping. Well, then nothing better at all than to be stereotyping, right? Yeah. Like when they show that hickey guy, they show him a little fat. You don't give a damn about that, though, do you? Right. I think they should all look like Adonis, but then we'll let the India guy. What do you see? What do you want to go with all this? And where does it end? Well, these guys preemptively jumped over and made their new vent. It's like naked luge. Yeah. But this has led to other people who've said things like, well, now we've got to talk about things like Star Wars. See, we've got to redo Star Wars because, or at least the voicing, because James Earl Jones, who is a black man, he's got some ad mix to him, of course, but that doesn't matter. And he's doing a white person's role. I mean, if you look at Anakin, he's always white, so then you'd have to do that, right? There's that whole situation and cultural appropriation that goes on. And there's a video game, God of War, which of course these are voiceovers, and so now the voiceover, even in video games, has come over into it. And God of War is done by a black man, but if you look at the person, he's white, and then he's even painted white as hell. I mean, it's just wow. Okay, so that can't go on anymore, so that's out. Gonna have to redo all the voicing for that and re-put it out. And there's going to be a redo on quite a few things like that. And they want George Lucas to redo the Star Wars thing, but of course that's under Disney, so they said they're going to redo Anakin Skywalker totally as a strong, independent woman. Yeah, and that has lesbian tendencies. And so that's just fine. And there's a few others that they've really signaled out here that have, it makes you wonder if anybody's ever going to say this has gone too far, or if we're just going to go full Cuckle weirdo, freaky polka music going on type of clown parade. And oh, I saw a video a couple of weeks ago. Haven't told you about it yet. Was going to do a video about it, but I'm afraid I'll be blocked. He said all of this is cuckling towards black people and really disgusting, and they shouldn't be doing all of it. And that's before all of this crap came out. So you can imagine what the guy would be saying right now. Oh, and Larry Elder's making a video series called Uncle Tom, and how he and black people who actually try to learn and do anything are called Uncle Tom by blacks, who are a directive to stay dumb and not have any intelligence and end up playing the victim card, which we're all talking about. And if y'all aren't aware, we're all doing this because some guy, it took a cop 8.5 minutes to choke him out with his knee, which doesn't choke anybody. It's not a chokehold, but it could have possibly knocked him out. But that's not the deal. And they say he didn't die of asphyxiation or anything off of it. But that guy pistol whipped a lady and held a gun to her belly that was pregnant with a kid at the time whenever they were trying to steal money for drugs and stuff. And he's gone to prison for that and was currently trying to counterfeit when the cops got called for him there. And he tries to resist arrest a couple of times. And they knew that something was up with him, so they went ahead and preemptively called, because you can tell by the end of it, which he dies at, the paramedics are already there. And how long does it take paramedics to get there? So when all this comes out, it's going to be hellish. Oh my gosh. And then, of course, the Wendy's thing, which is a farce, and anything else they can try to drag up to try to smother out the fact of JUssie Smollett and the race car driver thing now, Smollett, which is 5.0. If you remember, there was one about black people held down a girl and cut her hair, and that didn't even happen, but they tried to put that out. And then there was 3 or 4 black business owners that vandalized their own place and then turned around and tried to say that it was, of course, vandalized by white people. One of them was a ex-football player. Yeah, great stuff. So we're moving on. And, yeah, tell me what y'all think about this type of stuff down in the comments. I mean, we can speak freely in America, so feel free. Peace.